Hello, no, welcome to the Galaxy Man Show. I am back again. So, yeah, we're going to add Natasha Rose Mills in, who plays the role of Jess in Winnie the Pooh Blood and Horror. Let's add Jess in. Let's add Natasha in and have a chat with Natasha on the show for the Galaxy Man Show. So, yeah, let's add Natasha in.
Sorry about
No,
that.
you're fine. No, you're fine. Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Natasha, for
Um,
appearing on my show. It's such an
you're
incredible pleasure
welcome.
having you on as a guest tonight. To people that don't know who you are, Natasha, if you can give like a bit of backstory about yourself, and then we'll dive right into the questions.
Yeah, of course. So I'm an actor. I should adjust my camera a little bit. So I'm an actor. I'm also a mindfulness compassion teacher and a coach as well. And in terms of acting, I've been in a few things, as most of you know, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. And I wrote a film on domestic violence, which is Colourblind. Currently working on another film at the moment as a writer myself.
Awesome. So we'll dive right into the questions now, Natasha. So for my very first question, as you mentioned, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. What was this like whole experience like getting to be on set of this film, and like just what was like the whole atmosphere like of this film for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey?
It was a really nice atmosphere, especially when it came to working with the director, because the director had, really interesting vision for what he was creating, and he was really good to work with. And you don't always find directors that that are very good at collaborating, but he was, and he had a really nice energy around him, and I think that's what created a nice atmosphere for all of us to work together. And the locations were really great as well. We had some really great locations, and I can't actually wait to actually see the finished product, because some of the locations were just wow. That's all I can say really. And yeah, one in particular was quite a lot of money to hire out. So yeah, the atmosphere was really great, and working with the cast and the crew, everyone was just brilliant to work with.
So on to our very next question.
Mhm.
So like onto that, like what was your like outstanding moment on the set for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey? Like what stood out to you the most?
Hmm. What stood out to me the most? Uh, there were some really emotional scenes. I can't really say much. That's the thing, because obviously it's not out,
Yeah.
but you can see from the trailer. So that's the thing. Yeah, so there's some really emotional scenes in the film. I think when you're really connected to a role, it helps you to connect with the other person through the understanding and the empathy. And those scenes, for me, because of the scenes that I like to play, very emotional and sometimes like sort of like more Winona Ryder, that kind of like Girl Interrupted, those sort of scenes I like to play, or those sort of roles. And those were the ones that I felt really connected to. And obviously there were other scenes as well that were really just very fast paced, and there was a lot going on. I can't really say much, that's the thing, and I'm trying to think of what to say without
Yeah.
not saying too much. So obviously, from the trailer that Winnie the Pooh and Piglet grew up with Christopher Robin. They were really good friends. He went off to college. When he did, they felt neglected, and they went off on a massive rampage and went back to their animal roots because they needed to survive. And that was kind of, and they ate Eeyore, which was really nice. And then obviously came back from college, came with his fiance, as you know in the trailer, hoping that they would accept her. And that's all I can really say. And obviously I appeared in the film, and I was one of the girls in the woods, and we were off on a trip together. Yeah.
Awesome. So on to my very next question. So like who out of the cast members did you get along with the most? Like who did you get along with out of like the whole entire cast if you could name one cast member?
Everyone was really nice. Like, I got on with everyone really. I mean, Craig was great to work with, and Winnie. Oh, he's lovely. Really nice to work with. Maria as well. Amber, and Natasha. Like, just everyone really. I can't really say one specific person because I think how we work together and Reese directing as well. It's just really nice in terms of it being a collaboration and really listening to what ideas that you had. Because most directors, obviously, it's an indie film rather than if you're on a big budget film, they have one way, their vision, and that's it, which is perfectly okay. But I like to collaborate, and I think because of who I am and as a writer, um, I like to collaborate with other people, I like to share my ideas because sometimes, I think that's nice to do just to see, is it going to work? Is it not? So I think it was very much like that in terms of like the collaboration on set, and he was just really great to work with. Everyone really was, and I can't really say in terms of, it was just really nice atmosphere because we spent time together as well. When we had a couple of days off, and we went to this holiday park, and that was kind of where we really sort of grouped together and went out, and it's a really nice atmosphere.
So on to the next question. So on to like
I
with like so on to like with Craig as Winnie the Pooh, like what was it like? What was it like seeing Craig in the Winnie the Pooh like outfit? Like what was that like?
What was it like?
Yeah.
How do I sort of? Yeah, it was interesting. Interesting. Um, he's got a bit of a softness around him. So I kind of, because I know him anyway,
Yeah.
I say he's just a really nice person. Yeah. So it was just really interesting in like seeing him in the actual costume, and I suppose it just like made things alive, didn't it? Just sort of created the aliveness of, oh, this is Winnie, and I just think it just created the Winnie the Pooh thing. So
Yeah.
it's really great.
I love that. So on to our very next question. So like why do you think people should watch this like Winnie the Pooh like Blood and Honey? Like what makes it like stand out from like the cartoon of Winnie the Pooh?
So what I will say is, like, obviously people say things like it's destroying their childhood, but what I will say is the Disney version is still there. The A.M. Mill version is still there. And and that's perfectly okay because I love Winnie the Pooh anyway. But this is a version for people that just like a bit of horror, just like something a little bit different, and like to be kind of like have a little bit of suspense there, and they don't know what's going to happen. I think that's really nice to know because particularly I like films like that anyway. So it's for that person to just like something a little bit different, distinctively different to maybe what they're used to, and maybe even if they love like the old Winnie the Pooh, maybe they just like to, see something a little bit different. Yeah.
Well, I love my horror, and I as soon as I saw the trailer for Winnie the
Amazing.
Pooh, yeah, as soon as I saw like the trailer for Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, I'm like, damn, this is like excellent. Like the trailer really stood out, and like when I did my reaction video to it, I was like, okay, this is something different, very different and new for Winnie the Pooh,
Mm.
and I love the take of what Winnie the Pooh looks like, and I think you guys have done such an outstanding job by viewing the trailer. Like when it came out, I was like, wow, this is very good, and I highly recommend people give it a watch. Support the cast because they definitely deserve the amazing support. So yeah, definitely go check out Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey when it gets released, everyone. Because yeah, definitely support the cast. So I just want to say that. So on to my
Amazing.
very no, you're very welcome. So on to my very next question. So like, what made you decide, like, as a person and like especially as an actress, to get into the whole acting scene in the first place?
I've always loved performing since I was really young. And singing, it started off with singing. And I used to just sing all the time, really. And I used to also act out plays. I used to like writing stories. And I think that's where the writing came from in the first place, where I would be at school when I'd have free time, I'd just be writing. And I had a best friend at the time. We'd just be writing stories, just, together, just creating our own imaginary world sort of thing. And that's where it kind of came from. And then I obviously went to college, studied performing arts, and that was where it kind of ignited within me that passion that I just love something about performing. So it's acting, writing, it's just that whole aspect of creating something. And that's why I think where it comes to acting, it's just creating something and almost stepping into somebody else's shoes, and where I talk about empathy and the understanding of that, like how somebody else it feels. It's like you're creating that what if character, What if this happens? What if I was a scientist? Maybe I could be a scientist one day, and yeah, just creating that.
Awesome. So on to the very next question. So onto that, like, who would be your like outstanding actor or actress that you inspire to be like? And yeah,
Yeah, okay. So for me, it's like the traits of Natalie Portman and Winona Ryder. I think I talked about before. I mean, often I get kind of referred to Winona Ryder. People think I look a little bit like her. I think Audrey Hepburn as well. I think in terms of her mannerisms and just the realism behind the roles, just the authenticity that they give, that sort of vulnerability, and that's me. I thought I always bring a part of me when I'm doing a role. So it's those characters and those actors, Winona Ryder, Natalie Portman, or Audrey Hepburn. Like I said, in Girl Interrupted as an example, with Winona Ryder, where she played a borderline personality disorder. And I think that's just such an interesting role and very difficult to play as well, going through like a mental health condition. It's not easy, and being able to get into that mindset. But I think it's incredible to be able to do that. And for me, it's like stepping into those roles that are very in depth and that build substance, have a lot of substance behind them, and realism. So bringing realism into a role, the reality in which we're living, that people can identify with in their everyday lives. I like those sort of roles.
so on to the very next question. So what's your favorite TV show or movie franchise currently that you've been watching? And yeah, what have you been watching currently?
So do you know what? I was really addicted to Liar. Have you seen it?
Yes, I've heard of it, and
Okay.
yes, I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very much binge watching for me. So I'd be watching one and then wondering, okay, do I know the truth about this character? Are they telling the truth? Is that one lying? But then it's like I got it wrong at first, you do. And I think that's clever. It's a clever, really clever franchise of being able to create something like that where you don't know what's going to happen. I don't like predictability because I get bored really easily. So I think, having something that keeps you on your toes and you're going to watch it, but that's the danger because then you're watching the next one. You want to watch the next one. Then you find out you're sitting here for 3 hours watching the same series. Like, oh, look at the time, it's gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, Liar is really interesting because there's a lot behind it. I suppose I don't want to say too much about it, but
No.
definitely watch Liar
Yeah.
on TV. I'd have given it away, just give the whole premise of the story away.
Yes.
But yeah, somebody is lying in the series, but we don't know who it is.
Yes.
And
Very
somebody
yes.
that's claimed to be misogynistic, this character, this man, that this lady meets, and we don't know if that's if she's telling the truth or not, basically.
Awesome. So, sorry, next question. So, on to that. So, if you could be in any, like, if you could have any dream role in TV or film, like, what would your dream role be and why?
I think I kind of answered that already. Yeah, in terms of those sort of in-depth roles like Winona Ryder, Natalie Portman, like because they play very interesting characters, like I don't know, in Black Swan. I think it was a bit of a, like very distinctively different to what she usually does. And then she played Jackie, didn't she?
Yes.
I really liked that film. Just the realism behind the roles where you got that bring into something that's happening in everyday life. Domestic violence is a common occurrence. I mean, I wrote a film on domestic violence which was colourblind, and those sort of roles people can identify with, and if you're able to sort of raise awareness in that aspect as well, I think that's really important. So those are the roles that I really like, emotional roles, roles that you can really get into. But also like suspense, thrillers. I do like horrors, obviously, because I did one. And yeah, so I love thrillers, like something that you just don't suspect. That's what I talked about also You as well. I mean, that's a great example, I think, in terms of like suspense and you don't know what's going to happen and seeing from somebody else's point of view. Well, I'm actually talking from the camera's point of view now, but seeing from somebody else's point of view, I find that really interesting, like from a writer's perspective.
Awesome. Well, I'm actually getting a lot of Doctor Who companion vibes from you.
Doctor Who. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, like you'd make a great companion. I just have to say that hands down. Like you have that kind of like I don't know,
It's the war.
like good quirkiness
Oh,
about
quite,
you.
quite.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I would love if anyone could cast you as a companion, please do. Look at Doctor Who.
Doctor Who, right there.
Yeah,
I should be in Doctor Who.
yes, definitely. So
Love
my
that.
very yeah. So onto my very next question. So like, what advice would you give to up and coming actors that want to get into acting? And yeah, what advice would you give them?
So acting, obviously, I have to say there's a lot of rejection involved when it comes to acting. Some people, I'd say go with your eyes wide open. Whatever career that you're going into, it's not easy. But if you're really passionate and you really want to do it, then stick at it, even through the rejection. But also support yourself as well, like because we go through anxiety, and hence why I'm a mindfulness and self-compassion teacher. And I've learned a lot of practices and skills and strategies that have helped me. And I also help other clients to overcome that in audition. So I'm very good at helping people to overcome anxiety, manage stress, and build a sense of self, and I think that's really important. Strengthening your sense of self so you don't get affected by what could come up, what potentially could maybe cause like could damage you, in terms of rejection, as I mentioned before, that we take things to heart quite easily. So it's really important to make sure that you're strengthening yourself, looking after yourself, self-care, self-compassion. And when it comes to acting as well, what advice would I give on that side as well is keep at it, keep going, keep putting yourself out there, get a strong show reel, work on your casting type. And that's what I also help other actors do as well, is like be able to differentiate their casting type. And that's really important because when you know that, you have somewhere, it's not necessarily going to get pigeonholed in, but you have a place to go because it's who you are. But when you know who you are and what roles you can play, it gives you some strength there because it takes time. If you're just starting out, it does take time, but if it's something you're really passionate about, yeah, that's advice that I would give.
I actually love how you mentioned about like the anxiety wise and things. Like suffer with anxiety myself, and I know that it can be very tough. And to people that struggle with anxiety, like it can bring you down a lot. And what I'm trying to say is like with me when I suffer with it, like I listen to like either music or listen or like watch shows that lift me up and things. That's how I get through my anxiety wise. Like it can be tough, and all I'm saying is like the people that do suffer with it, like just try and manage it the best that you guys can, because anxiety can definitely be tough. And I love how you like mentioned about the whole anxiety thing. So that, yeah, I just want to say it really helps how you mentioned that.
Would I be able to give a tip? Would that
You
be
can,
okay?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So when it comes to anxiety, what we do is we usually hold our breath
okay,
because we go into this fight or flight stress response instantly. It's fight, flight, or freeze. And what we want to do is breathe. And that's such a simple thing to do, and be more responsive, because usually we're very reactive towards our thoughts, not being judgmental quite quickly and catastrophizing, thinking of the worst case scenario. Breathing is a starting point, and breathing into the abdomen, like into the abdomen, because this helps to reduce stress. It basically breaks the cycle of stress. Because what we usually do is shallow breathe. We breathe up here near our chest, and this can cause stress hormones to produce. So we're increasing stress hormones, also other elements within the body. So when we push it down into the diaphragm, we're breathing and it reduces it. So we're going back into something called, a bit technical, parasympathetic nervous system, which
okay,
means that we're feeling more restful, and also when we're in that state, it allows us to be kinder towards ourselves. And this is what I teach as well, through
yeah,
self-compassion and saying to yourself, it's okay. It's okay that I feel anxious right now. And then maybe coming up with a question. What can I do about this? What do I
no,
need right now is a good question. What do I need? Because most of us don't know what we need, but when we're in a restful state of mind, we do. Sorry, I had to go into that because
no, you're
it's
fine.
it's
No,
it's, it's
it's
my
good.
work
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. No, actually love that. Like, thank you so much for doing that. So on to my very next question. With the whole acting and like being in the acting industry, like what are the struggles of like the positive and negative side into the whole acting industry, and how to get through those like negative moments as an actress?
Oh, okay, that kind of goes on. Could have done that afterwards then, couldn't I? So positives are, being a character, being on set, being around people, especially positive people that are going to bring you up and create a positive environment. Meeting directors, being on film, seeing yourself on film. Some people don't like to do that. Some people don't like to see themselves on film, which is okay. But then you learn. That's the key thing, is that you learn from what you're doing. That can be positive or negative here, because if you're seeing yourself doing a certain facial expression, you might be too focused on that. And we're all there. We all get like that. When we see ourselves on TV, like, oh, I'm doing that expression. But what's the reason behind that? Sometimes it could be tension within the body, and just being, sort of aware of that. The negatives, obviously, we talked about before, rejection. That that is inevitable when you're putting yourself out there. There's a lot of rejection around. Being kinder towards yourself. It always goes back to self-compassion and being mindfulness, because self-compassion and mindfulness, not being mindfulness. Acknowledging how you're feeling in the present moment and knowing what you can do about it. So, some examples are just acknowledging in the present moment as to how you're feeling, and being kinder, saying it's okay. So, and not pushing it away. So if you've got negative thoughts that are coming up within the mind, most of us want to push things away because we don't want to feel the emotion, and we don't want to be experiencing these thoughts, these intrusive thoughts that are coming up. But the more we do it, we're reinforcing it. It's making it worse. We're reinforcing the same emotion. Just being with it and seeing what's beneath the surface. When we can find out what's beneath the surface, we can shift and change. What's beneath that? What's beneath that? When we know, we can do something about it. But we do this by connecting to the body, because otherwise it's just surface level. If it's just surface level, there's no lasting change. But when you go down, like, layers in terms of your body and understanding it more, then you create lasting change through, mindfulness practices. Highly recommend them. mindfulness and self-compassion. I'm a self-compassion teacher. I have a course, if anybody's interested in learning about that. Mindfulness helps to rewire the neural pathways within the brain to think and feel more positively. So, that's quite a long sort of winded, explanation on that, but it's my work, so.
Awesome. Well, I just would like to, for my last and final question, if looking back over your time in the acting experience and what you do for a living, what would you say to your younger self, looking back over time?
What would I say to my younger self back over time? Be kinder. This comes back to being kinder, because we tend to beat ourselves up when we're young, but we don't realize what we're doing because we don't know how to be responsive. We're so quick to be reactive and think about the worst case scenario. I would say it's okay, and it's okay that you feel that way, and you can do this. You can, and you will. You need through self-affirmations, and I would say that keep going. Stay on this right path, because you've got this. You just need to believe in yourself. You just need to find that belief, because the belief is there, but you've got to do the work, because nobody can do it for you. And that means absolutely nobody but you, in terms of finding maybe somebody that can help support you to get there, but then you have the tools that you can find within you that is going to be helpful for you on your path.
Well, I just would like to say thank you so much, Natasha, for appearing on my show. It has been such an incredible pleasure having you on the show for tonight. To people that don't know Natasha, everyone definitely go give Natasha one amazing support. Support the cast of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, coming very soon. The trailer looks incredible to people that haven't seen the trailer before yet. It looks fantastic, and you guys have done such an incredible job with it. Do you have any closing thoughts that you'd like to share to people on the show?
Closing thoughts. Yeah, just go and watch the film when it comes out. We don't know when the release date is yet, but just be open-minded. This is what I will say. Be open-minded. If you're a Winnie the Pooh fan, as I mentioned before, that's great. Old Winnie the Pooh fan. Obviously, we know that Disney had, the red T-shirt. The red T-shirt's not shown in the film. It's a completely new version, distinctively different, and that's what I hope would be people would find interesting and would actually want to come and see it for that reason. So I'm excited to see it. So yeah.
You're the first person I ever shown this place to.
And why am I so special?
Because soon we'll be Christopher and Mary Robin. You should be close now.
We're not going to find them.
We will. Pooh, Piglet, Eeyore, we were friends for many years, and they're out there.
Christopher, we need to leave. Now.
I really need to find out what's happening there, okay?
This place is kind of cool. And did you say it has a pool? We need to go. Laura's dead. There's someone else outside. What was that?
We used to be friends. Why are you doing this, please? I would have never left, I swear.